Okay, so what I wanted to demonstrate for you today is this beautiful floral. As you can see, I've more or less finished this painting, but I wanted to show you in this short time frame how easy it is to create these dramatic blooms. So let me run through the colours that we'll be using today. We have some titanium white, cadmium yellow, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, and a small touch of mauve, and that's just to add a little bit of a different flavour. We have also a small container of linseed oil, and the brushes I'll be using today is a filbert brush. This is actually a natural hair brush, but you can use a soft synthetic. And I've also got an old worn flat brush. So I'm going to begin by blocking in the flower and establishing the lights and the darks. For that, I'm going to switch to the old brush, and I'm going to go in. This is going to be a blue hydrangea. So I'm going to go into a little bit of linseed oil and into some cerulean blue and some white. Now you do want to add enough of the oil that this makes it a nice creamy mix. So this is going to be a blue flower. I'm going to begin scrubbing this colour in. This canvas is all dry now, so I'm going to scrub this colour in. Now you can see how much pressure I'm putting on the brush, so you wouldn't really want to use one of your better brushes for this. Now the light source in this painting is coming from the left, so I want to start putting a little bit of a shadow into this area. So I'm going to dip into some of the ultramarine and start to darken the lower area. Again, you can see where the paint is just sitting on the surface. That's telling you need just a little more oil. And do add the oil a drop at a time. You don't want this getting all sloppy on you. So I'm scrubbing this colour, pushing this colour right into the weave of the canvas. I'm not concerned about going over the leaves. I want the flower to actually be sat on top of the leaves, so the leaves will be pushed back. Now I'm going to just add a slight touch of the mauve, again just for a little bit of variety in colour really, just to throw some extra colour in there, give it a little bit of a different flavour. Keeping these tones nice and dark at the shadowed side of the flower. Now just wipe in between, just make sure there's no hard edges. I'm going to add some white now into this centre. Again, this is where the light source is coming from. So we're establishing the lights and darks of the bloom. Hopefully you can see it starting to form the roundness now, just by adding those lights and darks. We'll push that in front of that daisy. So now that I've got that in place, I'm going to switch now to the filbert brush, and this is absolutely perfect for forming these very tiny little petals. Now to begin with, I'm just going to add a very small amount of oil and a little bit of titanium white to this mix from earlier. Now to create these little petals, you're doing 4 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you form a little cup. But you do them so quickly that sometimes you'll only see little parts of them. I'm also looking to break up this outer edge. I don't want this hard line here. So as the brush becomes dirty, I will start to go into the more shadowed areas and begin to form these darker petals. So even though it's a 4-petal stroke, there are times where I'm actually only just hitting it just once. And I'm trying to change the angle a little bit so that it's not, they're not all facing the same way. So I might do some that are actually sort of upside down. So I've only loaded the paint just that once, and you can see already we're starting to create these tiny little petals that are characteristic of the hydrangea. So do make sure that your outside edge is nice and broken, and don't be worrying about taking some of that dark up into the light and some of the light into the dark. Now, in most things, the more you work them, the worse they become. But actually, in the case of these little flowers, the more you work them, the nicer they become. So now I've kind of broken that up. I'm going to increase the value by adding some more of the titanium white, and again a little drop of oil. I want this to be nice and creamy and for it to just flow nice and easily off the brush. So I'm getting a little bit more precise now with my little petals. When I first load, because it's a very light value, I will stay in the lighter areas, and then as the brush starts to become dirty again, I'll start to move again towards the more shadowed side. I mean, these flowers are so, so pretty, and they look like you could have spent absolutely hours on them. So again, here I'm just randomly just touching. Again, I'm going to increase the value a little more now with more white, a little more oil. Being a little bit more precise with some of these petals. And please do overlap these. This is very important. Don't try, oh, I like that petal, I'm going to save it. Go over them, overlap them. It is the overlapping, and just keep working on these petals, and that's what creates the illusion of this bloom. Now finally, these are going to be my brightest, so I'm going to concentrate those towards the centre. Keep wiping because you will be picking up a lot of the colour from underneath. And keep reloading. Keep those very bright ones, you want to keep the paint nice and fresh. It's a nice creamy mix. So just enough oil so that that feels nice and silky and that there's no resistance under the brush at all. And here I'll just put a couple of little random bits that have caught the light. Okay, so then to finish this off, we're going to put the little stamens in the centre. Now I just turn the brush over, go into some oil and into some cadmium yellow. And we'll just tap on a couple of these little stamens. Just throw a couple of these in, nice and random. The eye will fill in the rest of the details. Isn't that beautiful? Now that looks like you've spent hours and hours on those petals, and I shan't tell anybody if you don't.